I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty
Oh
cool.
man,
On this
that
sad
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Pack, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom. So we thought, Selleck, Redwood, the original CommsQ, the creator of the ORAG newsletter. I mean, it just seemed like a really just a perfect place to start.
That's quite the intro. That should be like your tagline for every single intro. That anytime you walk into the room.
It was a short run on the printing press that didn't get past the year, I don't think. But there might be a season where that gets revived with the right people.
Yeah. Well, so tell us, just to start us off, how tell us about who EH'd you and tell us that
was the plague. I was working at the med center, and that's where our Nantan, Chad Bruff's working, and he propositioned myself and Courage at the time, also a med center brother who moved to Denver, that he was going to start this thing. He was going to bring F3. I'm going to move real quick. I'm driving and FaceTiming. It's not good. He was gonna bring F3 from North Carolina, and then we kind of all got some coffee one morning. We talked about what this was, what this meant. This was probably
how did he originally sell it to you, or how did he propose it to go?
He had a really big hole in his heart. He's a romantic, and he told us all his romantic stories about his fellowship and brothers in Greensboro and how much he loved it. And he sold us, right? And he sold us on coffee, and then we walked away, and I was like, well, I don't think that'll ever work out. But then he kind of doubled down, and he's like, hey, I got two other guys, this guy named Blake, and this other guy named Nate. And by the way, he also had bluegrass. So there's 5 of us, and he challenged us in February to go out to a parking garage at Stinson Park. And he ran us through a beatdown in that parking garage on a freezing cold day, doing wheelbarrows and fireman carries. And he was taking us to Q school, basically. And we did that for 3 or 4 weeks. And we were the only guys working out, and he named us all. And he named me.
So how'd you get Selleck?
So he named me Selleck because at the time, he had known me from work, but also known me. He was on Ron McDonald board, and we were partners with him, Mustache for Kids. He was the charity partner one year, so he grew a mustache with me in May in Omaha for another group of men who get together. And then, of course, that's a different type of fellowship. But he knew me as kind of mustache philanthropist. And that is how Selleck was born.
I always thought room service was more of the mustache philanthropist of the group.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
You had to pick one. What's your favorite F3 moment?
It was a kind of a high-low day, that kickoff day where we were Redwoods. And, like I say, there was probably 5 or 6 of us who had already had names, had been working out with Chad, wait time. And then, he brought in some of his big guns from F3 Nation to help kick off that event at Boys Town. And let's be honest, I'm not in the best shape now, but I wasn't in the best shape then. And I spewed Merlot on the Redwood day walking back to my car. There's a picture of us after the workout. Everyone is smiling and just gleaming at that camera with the flags in the background. And you look and you see me, and I've just got my head down, and I'm just a mess. And after that picture, I walked to my truck, and I just spewed Merlot all the way. So that was a high that we actually made the day for kickoff, but the low was that I just, for whatever reason, and it may have been one too many IPAs the night before, but it just wasn't, it didn't settle with me. And I would say the other high is just like, you got to be kidding me, right? We started with 1 AO, and then we came in with a Tuesday, and how are we going to ever have enough guys to queue these things? And then we're dropping in a Paradise Island. And it's just one of those things where you kind of say, how does this thing go? But I think the high has been watching this whole Starfish versus the Spider model and how this thing's got its own heartbeat. And now it's like we're 33 AOs. You know what I mean? So it's just unreasonable to think that it wasn't going to work out. Chad had the vision as a visionary, but I certainly was talking to Kurds on the side saying, it's too damn cold. This isn't going to work. But I was totally wrong, and it's one of the most fantastic things I've been a part of.
It's cool hearing that perspective because, I agree. I love watching it grow, but just having that perspective of the first day, it's just, that's golden right there just to hear that.
Yeah, I also like to see like what Brazilian looked like on the first day, like a stuffed sausage in his Patagonia turquoise undergarments, and looking back on those pictures of Brazilian, and then seeing what how he's transformed. Not that he had a bunch to transform, but it's a motivator. Those are high moments where we get to rib our brothers and pull up those little pictures every now and then and say, "Good God, son, how much sweet tea were you drinking?"
We're all about body positivity here, Selleck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talk about F3 Fitness Fellowship and Faith. Where do you feel like you're at today with the 3 Fs? If you had to say, if you looked at each of those aspects of your life, Fitness Fellowship and Faith, where do you feel like you're at?
I think throughout this, I have, I think since we kicked off, I've added 2 additional 2.0s to the home front, right? So we're at 4 4.0s, ages 7 and younger. And I think my trick to date with fitness, fellowship, and faith has been tricky to try to balance it. But F3 allows that balance because there is this just built-in expectation that we have we can rock some of this out in a very short amount of time in the morning with each other in the gloom, and then I think that provides other opportunities for fellowship, fitness, and other ways that we can I think have that time, but not maybe what you think the time would be in previous lives where you were sitting on a bar stool till 2 a.m. trying to have fellowship. And so this has been this kind of flips the script on that whole model. And that's been, it makes it easy in that way because it provides you so many opportunities to accelerate any of the Fs. Personally, I'm not where I want to be probably on any of those, but I think that's kind of part of the journey too, is continue to accelerating. So, if I was going to rank myself on where I thought I should be on a 10 scale, I'd say I'm probably, at a 5.5 on fitness. I'm probably over fellowship as my favorite part of this thing. I'm probably at a 10. My bucket is full, but I still crave more. And then my faith component is, I think deeply rooted in service to others, but there's always room for me to grow there. And I think I'm probably hanging around 6.25 on the faith component. Trying to find, joining you had a Plague, you had you and Tonight Show. I stepped into a book club with you guys. I stepped into one recently this last week. Our family's been not been in the the sanctuary for a year with COVID, but we're starting to get back into going to that, going to church and worshiping in the house of the Lord. But I think it's just been nice to have this through all this crazy year too, to kind of keep your pulse on everybody else's faith journey, which has been helpful because it could be a lonely trek alone sometimes,
Yeah, but glue being a key component there. So, on those times where it can be, some periods of isolation or solidarity, what is your glue to keep coming, keep posting? I know the pandemic was kind of a tester for all of us. And, I think cafeteria pop-ups at Kaki's house were definitely a piece that helped me keep coming.
Yeah.
Having some text messages here and there from the guys, just encouraging us to stay strong throughout those periods. Those were it for me. I was just more curious about what about for you and your experience?
I have been, I'm so confident in the relationships I've made, and they're so real and on a rapid trek of kind of true love for each other. And so I had a lot of comfort knowing that even if I stepped away, which I did for, several weeks or months, that crew was going to be there. I knew they were there. They was there in the morning. I knew I could always go back one or two times. I might get a ribbing. But, I think it was just the confidence in those relationships I had built in such a short amount of time that we can pick right back up, and you're a very accepting group, right? Very forgiving group. So that was a big comforting to me. And then I think the glue for me is almost kind of the space between, right? The Dave Matthews song there, but it's like the space between, I just enjoy talking to somebody while we're running every now and then, if I can actually catch my breath. The space between, between workouts where there is pop-ups, the space, let's get together in a driveway, non-sanctioned events, I think is the glue where you find your F3 brothers in the community, not necessarily doing Merkins, but, just finding some of that time to connect and then get somebody else's spirits up, or have them get your spirits up. And that's, I think, the glue is the non-structured time where I can really kind of where I can fill the gaps with my, shenanigans.
Yeah, who knew that Dave Matthews would be the inspiration for the space between, or the glue? I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me from your perspective, like, there's some concepts that I feel like you've referenced, but I don't know if you're so like concentrica, or some of the things we've learned from like the Q source. I mean, how have you feel like you've applied that? I feel like some of the balance you talked about, like you add more 2.0s, and therefore you maybe can't make it to as many workouts, but that's totally the right way that a high impact man prioritizes his life, right? You put more time there. Is that you applying the concentrica model, or do you have that balance before F3? Or talk to me about that a little bit.
I don't know if I'm using the blueprint. I think I'm, some of this is feel for me. I think I attribute it to my stellar golf game. You got to be able to kind of feel in the moment what's right. And I'm not one to lock. I would say a weakness of mine is I'm not one to lock in a ton of structure. I've been forced to do some of that, through our professional careers, through, growing a family and becoming more structured. But I'm a pretty go with the flow. Let me kind of get the vibe here before I maybe make some decisions on which way I'm going to go. So I don't have a ton of hard and fast rules when it comes to my, and that's, that I think there's some room there for me to improve in that. I know that's a weakness, but it's probably served me well in some roles. I don't go all in, on one thing. I don't, I went to, what did I do? I went to hot yoga Thursday, to karma yoga to get, just to get some more flexibility and stretching, and then have some time. I just kind of wanted to have some time alone, and maybe I wasn't really feeling up for a boot camp. So, I'm trying to sprinkle in some of those other things, because it's a balancing act, and really it's kind of the goal for me would be that, can you find the spirit healthy, body healthy lifestyle? And it's probably all things in moderation, is kind of the mantra. So did I have some of that baked in before F3? Maybe. Was I probably straying in that moderation, spirit healthy, body healthy philosophy? Yeah. I think F3 brings a lot of structure that I appreciate and definitely have grown from. So, I think, Plague, to your question about the concentrica though, I have looked some guys in the eyes straight, eyes to eyes and said, man, you're my brother, you're my shield lock. And I can't, say enough about how, we've been able to connect in such a short amount of time and have made what will be lifetime friendships. And so I think just having that kind of moment of intimacy with another guy that you really probably don't have from your high school or college friends, it'd be rare. But then to have that at such a time in my life when I'm getting pulled different directions has been a blessing.
Awesome. It's interesting too, because I think when we have those Q source discussions, it's just that, it's a discussion, right? It's one more thing for you to learn and kind of take in and figure out how it applies. And I think it does definitely provide some structure. For me, it's like when I first heard about the Concentrica model, it was the first time I had ever heard something different than balance. And so this idea of like balance is unachievable was just really helpful. I just remember hearing that for the first time thinking, okay, yeah, there's something to this.
Maybe we could just take a second here because you answered that question so much better than I did. And that was kind of the running joke for the first one we did was, well, whoever goes next is just going to knock it out of the park because there's no way it could get any possibly worse than what I provided for answers. So, but, you're talking about Concentrica and you're kind of using these terms. Maybe we could use this as an opportunity to kind of explain what that is, Brandon, to some people that maybe like me who may not understand exactly what you're talking about, and maybe that can help reference what Selleck and you are trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on because I agree. There's it's so crazy when you put pen to paper with something like this, the exercise, and if you haven't done it, I would encourage you to do it. And it's really kind of I don't know. I mean, Plague's probably got the exact science here, but I think I watched C-SPAN do this on a podcast a year ago when he was making his 2019 goals or something. And so he had this really great piece of paper that he had the Concentrica and some things that he was going to try to do with his 2.0s, his family and work. And it was all kind of really concise into one paper and one tool he could use. And I, of course, me being me, modified it and only did some parts of it. But, it was really who's your team, who's home team, who's that shield lock that you're really going to lean on in times of despair or times of need or celebration, who you're going to reach out to when the chips are down. And you name those people, you put them in this little inner circle of who those people are. And that's probably your M and some family. It could be some brothers, sisters, or friends. But as you go back around the circle, and I think Clay can probably illustrate this better, but there's other people that you bring into these circles based on kind of your life and where you're at in the season you're in. And it's like, I've never done the exercise and it was pretty enlightening.
Yeah, we would just so you know, I'm not full of it here. I got the book. So for those of you that can't see the book, it's free to read, and this is the current edition. I know they're making a new one, but on page 120, they walk through the Concentrica model. And actually, we have on our website, we've got a link under resources where guys can actually go and listen to what Selleck is referencing, which is a C-SPAN podcast where he says, take out a sheet of paper, break it into 4 corners and really walk through who's in that Concentrica, and then what are some of the other elements that you're trying to work on. He did it in a context of like setting goals for the year, but really it's this idea that if you took all the relationships in your life and you tried to balance work on one side and all of the other relationships on the other, you would never achieve balance, right? And if you did, you'd still be giving work way too much of your time and energy. And so how do you refocus that? It's you create a bullseye or a Concentrica, and just like Selleck said, M in the middle, and you've got your shorties, your shield lock, which are those brothers that you're really horizontal relationships, your whetstone, which are the mentoring relationships, and then work is really that outer ring. And the deeper down the rabbit hole you go, what tends to happen, at least for me, is I focus on the thing I have perceived control over the most, which tends to be work. And so when I turn my Concentrica inside out, and it becomes a challenge. But I think, the other thing I love that you said is nobody's living the perfect blueprint. And so you just do better, 1% better than the day before. And I think I love the comment about the space between and kind of enjoying the process. Because if you get so stuck on following the model, it's the old Eisenhower, a plan is everything, but planning is useless. You can't get so focused on the model or the blueprint that you kind of overwhelm or frustrate yourself. But like you mentioned, and you have continued to accelerate it in your career, but you're also really passionate about helping guys, give back to the community. And, so this idea of like your purpose, or kind of the D2X, the dolphin and the daffodil, as F3 would call it. How do you feel like, what's been most helpful for you in that space? Anything you would encourage guys to spend more time doing to kind of realize their purpose?
Wow. We're gonna get there now. I don't this one is the whole podcast, right? You could have this question. I feel like I take my work very seriously. I don't take myself very seriously. And that's kind of how I've walked through my career, with projects, with relationships, with leadership, with how I try to build relationships and trust, is trying to come at it a little bit lighthearted, trying to develop some relationships and trust and quick wins, knowing that we got to do heads down, get some work done. But along the way, kind of like you say, the space between, let's try to have a little fun here, because otherwise, what the hell are we doing? A little bit of joy. And it all can't be lollipops and rainbows. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that we, I have a hard time staying buttoned up, all day long when we're dealing with some pretty intense and difficult situations and problem solving. And so some of the times that, to create some innovation or creativity, I think, a little bit of humor interjected, and some time for the team to maybe vent or feel safe, a safe space to maybe do a little BMWing, or as they would say, right, the bitching, moaning, and whining limited. I think some of that can be healthy. And so I again, me not prescribing to, one way professionally or in my workouts or in my service, I try to keep some broad strokes and broad goals. I try to get involved in one or two organizations in the service industry. I don't try to overextend if I'm on a board or in a committee position outside of the work, and I'm not going to probably be involved in more than two anymore. I know myself. I got to protect my time. I from a leadership standpoint, and I'd like to at minimum Q once a month. Tony's probably put me on now more. But I want to kind of keep my finger there, but I'm probably not going to swing the pendulum so far as to Q once a week anymore. And that's okay, because there's other guys that want to step up, and I enjoy just maybe keeping my toe in the water there. And I think from a life standpoint, I think on the home front, I just have to work on my listening. I think that's just going to be my goal. Is I've got to have some more tangible things to make sure that I'm listening to those at home who need me. And, that would be Della, Elsie, Gemma, Kate, and Laura, and listening to how I can be there for them and not be so naively oriented and focused on my needs. And I think getting out there in the gloom, talking with you guys now, I can go fill my bucket, get some stuff done for me, feel productive, and not have resentment towards the ones I love the most when they need me later in the day. So I just, I don't have like a ton of, I'm probably not going to post how many workouts. I don't even know how many workouts I've done. I don't track it. It doesn't fill my bucket to track it. I just am trying to enjoy the moment and trying to do a little bit minutia, some of the small movements and improvements.
I think that's a great place to be. I think a lot of times we get in a place where maybe some guys are competing to see how many times they can post in a week. Some guys you know, they kind of get off, oh, you know, I posted every day this week. And that's perfectly okay if you're just going to post once a week, if you're going to queue once a month. By the way, I've got you in May. I've got you in May. I got you in 1 month.
See, yeah. I knew it. I'm covered now. See, I'm covered. I got to get 8.
Yeah. Well, you know, part of this as well was we really wanted to create a space for some packs that may not who know you, get a chance to know you, and then also kind of create a forum where people can hear about different second half and third half opportunities. So I know you're involved in the Mustache game right now, and this is kind of could be your plug here if you wanted to take a second to explain what goes in for why you grow the Mustache and what that fundraiser is for.
Yeah, that was my nonprofit. I'll do this 1 year and see. I'll engage, and they were kicking off a chapter in Omaha. I was doing some like volunteer work at Camp Caholo, which is a cancer camp for kids with cancer and blood disorders at the 4-H camp in the summer. I was doing some photography work for them so they could have, you know, their parents could see them at camp on the ropes course or what have you. And they were being selected or being, you know, they were campaigning to try to be Mustache for Kids' first charity partner in 2008, maybe. And, you know, there's a guy, Adam Perez, who's the stash father of Mustaches for Kids. He's, I think, the godfather for F3. He's posted maybe twice. But he started this idea of Mustache for Kids Omaha. The home chapter was in LA. It's now currently the home chapter is Omaha, Nebraska, because of all the success we've had. He approached Camp Caholo. We're going to raise mustaches. We're going to grow mustaches for a month. We're going to raise money for the charity. Do you guys want to partner? We think we might raise $3,000. And so they said, yeah, you can raise $3,000 for us by growing mustaches. And so it was guerrilla marketing. You get together with these guys every month. There was 30 of us. A lot of shenanigans, a lot of costumes, a lot of antics on how you raise money. Nothing is too outlandish for this group of guys. And we raised $27,000 for Camp Caholo in 30 days. And we kind of looked at each other and we said, holy shit, what just happened? You know, we created all these awards and all this pageantry and, you know, patted everybody on the back for all the work they did. And then we kind of said, we got something here. And there's a group of core guys, and it would be the total opposite of, you know, an F3 Starship model. This is really a spider model where there's a handful of guys that just do a ton of work every year to make this happen. And last year we raised $763,000 in a month, you know, for a local children's charity in 30 days. And so every year now the word is out on the street, obviously, that this is a real thing. We're just a pass-through entity that, you know, this cash just gets passed through to those local charities. There's no brick and mortar. There is no paid staff or administrative tax. And so it's a great opportunity for a different kind of fellowship, a different kind of way to engage in the community and help out. There's 2 local charities this year that would be partnered with in underserved communities to help with education and poverty in those communities that will do our best to try to get, you know, it's gimmicky, right? It's not like bowling it's not a rockathon. It's not a walkathon. It's, you know, it's lip linen for children. And it's less creepy than it sounds.
This is open to everybody. Anyone can help participate, or you're encouraging people?
Anybody, yeah, you can help. You can be a grower. You can sign up on m4k.com to be a grower. There might be a $20 stash tax, which will get you some swag. And then, you know, if you don't want to grow, there's a lot of rules. You got to clean shave at Two Fine Irishman, or submit a picture if they're going to do that this year at Two Fine. But then everybody starts from ground zero, and you grow a mustache for 30 days. You can't grow below the corners. That is illegal, and you can't take performance-enhancing drugs. You can't dye your mustache. You know, there's no PEDs, and this is there's you know, I was crowned Swedish Stash in 2010, and you know, I'm proud of that. That's on my resume.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, you can't win twice. Yeah, so you can be a grower, you can be a giver, and we'll accept both.
All right, right on. Well, we've got just a couple more questions for you, and we kind of end with the same couple questions here. But the first one being, what is your least favorite workout, exercise, and why? So
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not. This is like Plague's favorite one, and I'm growing to. It's okay, but I just really don't care for the burpees. There's just a lot of movement going on. I feel like we could be more efficient with another workout. I'm I'm indifferent now. I guess I don't hate them as much as I used to when we started F3. A second runner up and one that I still throw out there every now and then is like a crab walk, and I even do it to myself. It's kind of hard on the wrists. But, for the most part, I think anytime we're out there moving, I don't have too much to complain about.
Right on. Yeah, no, none of those do anything for me either. So
that question is kind of selfish in nature. If enough guys say they don't like burpees, then maybe I'll stop doing them. I'm just kidding. That will never happen. I like your honesty there. Love it.
Well, kind of the last thing here, and we'll wrap it up. Just, for any of the FNGs that either pop up before, after this podcast comes up or whatever, but anything that you could say, words of encouragement or anything that you would kind of impart them as a Redwood.
I think there's a lot of things that we do well. I think I could, if I could do anything, I would probably be better at recruiting. I think trying to give it away, gift F3, and this might be somebody who you work with, a neighbor, someone who maybe you just for whatever reason I don't want to talk to them about it. I don't think you kind of shy away from it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but maybe in your heart that he's really going to benefit from this. And so I would just challenge those FNGs, and I think I could do a better job at this too. Is really kind of giving the gift of F3 away by having some of those, engaging conversations with your peers and neighbors and friends who, for whatever reason, you shied away from inviting them because of, XYZ or whatever. But I think getting over that and having the courage to have the conversation and then seeing what that does. I mean, there's guys who just accelerated so much who wouldn't have benefited from this movement. And so I think that's one piece of advice is don't keep it all yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great piece of advice, and kind of going off of what you say, you don't even know how this could impact someone's life just by having a conversation with them. So
good. Would you mind taking us out just with the old Selleck name-orama, just the age name and the F3 nickname?
Jared Long, 41, Selleck.
Selleck.